Today, I am going to make a witch's cauldron. I should be doing other adult things, but I thought, hey, it's the Halloween season. Why not try and do something Halloweeny-ish? And try and use my electronic knowledge that I've been hoarding, amassing together, uh, like a dragon with its gold. Anyway, let me show you the concept of the idea of why I'm doing this. That makes sense? I was looking at different kinds of sensors and modules and stuff for a microcontroller, which if you don't know, it's just kind of like a computer brain. And the little modules would be something that you can connect to it that does something cool, right? And I came across this. This is called a piezoelectric atomizer plate. And if you look at it here, that is this little disc. Now what this does is it vibrates super, super fast to make that mist that comes out of a kind of a humidifier. Let me show you. Now, luckily for me, it already comes with its own little board with a button on it that I can just press and make it go. So if I do it like so, hopefully you'll be able to see. Oh, I had it upside down. But you see that? That is water vapor. Wow, you can see it. And I thought, hey, I could make a tiny, tiny little witch's cauldron that kind of jets this out. That would be pretty cool, right? So that's cool and all. But before I jump into it, I'm going to do a little bit of research. Researching never hurts. About what a witch's cauldron looks like. I have a general idea, but I mean, sometimes their ideas don't line up with what reality is. And then also, what colors I want this thing to turn. Obviously, I'm going to use a little tiny RGB LED. That's going to do all different colors that I want. Probably going to use all the colors. But, I mean, what are the Halloween colors? I'll come back to you in a second, and I'll tell you what I found. Obviously, a witch's cauldron is a big pot. But I've noticed that looking at the designs that people had of witch's cauldrons on the line, they're bowl-shaped. And they also have either feet or they hang. And for the sake, because I'm going to be 3D printing a shape, I'm just going to have shapes that I add on at the end, but have the big general shape. Because if you do a bunch of little details and stuff on it, it's going to make the print kind of go crazy. You have to do supports and all that. So it's just going to be kind of a semicircle dome, I think, is where I'm going to start. And then from there, we'll see where I go. I'm going to try and 3D print the thing first because 3D printing usually takes a long time, but I'm going to try and cut as many corners as I can and make it as small as I can because, first of all, this jet isn't very big. Jet of water vapor. And, oh yeah, and the lights that I want, the colors, obviously every color is a good color, but, man, there's a lot of green witch's brews in there. Yellow's a good one, orange and purple. So we'll go for green and purple to start with, and then, I mean, it'll be a quick and easy thing to adjust the colors once I get it going. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I am going to 3D print a basic cauldron design and then get that going. Then I'm going to work on the wiring for this because I would love to press one button and have it all go, and I'll show you in a second. All right, so I have made my witch's cauldron infusion here. It's a simple bowl. It took a little while to figure out a sphere. I'm going to make a sphere, hollow it out. Anyway, I'm going to send it to my printer. It's going to take about 45 minutes, it says. There we go. Got that going. And that'll give us time to mess around with how I'm going to do this. How am I going to put this guy into that and make it work? But I got to run some tests here first. This is a transistor, also known as an electronic switch. I acquired this through nefarious means. And this has a physical switch. Now, I don't have the know-how, skills, ability, and workplace to be able to, first of all, make this switch powered directly by this board in a way that's simple and straightforward, other than putting this transistor across here. So instead of me pushing the switch here, I can push a switch here on this guy. That'll make it go. You'd be like, why do you want to do that? I want to press one button, and I want the button to be controlling both the light and the mister, so I don't have to deal with pushing two buttons at once, just because I'm lazy and I want to see if it works. Anyway, let me see. I'm going to try it out, and I'll let you know how that goes. Okay, so this is finished printing. This will be the cauldron. Okay, that's the sense of scale that we're working with. This will fit in here pretty good. I'll have it sitting there and mist up. But I wanted to show you, so I wired some wires onto here. That button right there, this guy right here. So these are just an extension. So if I connect these two, then that turns on. I double checked it. And now I'm gonna wire up the transistor and see if I can't get that to work in the way that I want it to. We will see. It took a deceptively long time to figure out how to get this button, not from the actual little board here, this little green board, but a little switch that I have controlling over here to turn this on. It's like a little victory moment, watch. You put this bad boy on here, right? And you go like that. Ta-da! I don't know if you can see the smoke right there. It's good smoke. And that's how that works. You see this little guy right here? Where are you? That is an LED. And I gotta solder little things. And then I can change it to any color I want. So that it's gonna be fun. This is called I Did My Best. If you can see it. There you go. That'll work. That'll do something. Look it. Watch. Watch. La la. You see the smoke coming out? And the light shining. So ideally this is gonna be in this. Right? It's gonna be little smoke coming out of there with the light shining. It'll look cool at night. Okay? Halloween is a nighttime thing anyway. A few days later, I have everything I need together to make this a little cute project. I was struggling with how am I going to mount this little mister device inside of my actual little pot here. And I came across the idea of this. So this is where the disc of the mister will sit, right there. This kind of wicks up water. So you put that in the water and it sucks it up. So this will go right here. Mister will go right here. And then this is the top. That square right there is where the LED will go. And then this will fit together like this in there. And then it'll all be one piece. That way I can remove it from this cauldron all at once to see if there's any issues and like add water and stuff like that. Plus, I decided to make it a little bit more Halloween-y, and I designed and printed some. These are feet for the cauldron, okay, like that. I got a couple of handles for the cauldron. I made some eyeballs. I don't know if you can see that. That's an eyeball. I made a couple bats to throw in there too. There's some bats. And then I made a little newt. I know it's like Eye of Newt, but I made a little newt to throw in there. So that's gonna go on top. I'll show it. All that's left really is I have everything. Now I just need to assemble it, and I'll show it to you when I get to that point. I honestly thought this was gonna be an easy kind of one-day build. Boom, boom, boom. Gonna be all done, one and done. But here I am a week later. I'm not done yet. What happened was I came home one night after a really long day, and I said, I'm going to work on this some more. And I fried this board. I accidentally crossed some lines, right? You don't want to cross your lines. There was a smell. Things didn't work anymore. This little board is dead. Thankfully, I have more. They're cheap little things. and I'm going to see if my little disc still works here, and hopefully it does. So from there, we'll move on. But I also wanted to show you all the things that I have ready because accessories are important to this project. I've never done this before, but I 3D modeled some boots, some witch's boots. So this is a witch's boot. I got two of them. It'll be next to the cauldron. That'll be cute. And then I made a little witch's hat, which is actually kind of easy to make. It's just a cone with a disc on the bottom. So that is going to go alongside all my other little 3D printed things to make this cauldron into a thing. But let's test out and see if the new Mister board works. Because without that, it could be bad. It works. Okay. So far, so okay. So if you don't know, these are all the wires that need to be hanging out of the cauldron to make it do its thing. But I made holes. So with the soldering iron with plastic, you can poke holes in it. I just made a solid thing and I poked holes in it for the plastic, for the wires so they could go through. But if you see there, where I was like, okay, there's where the holes will go. But I forgot that this thing needs to hold water. So I'm going to have to move those holes up a little bit more on the side here on the top. And that's what's printing right there. It should be done in a few seconds. And then I'll put everything back into this and I'll proceed from there. I turn this on. There you go. That is the witch's cauldron. It's actually very, very small. You see pictures of it. There's a reason why I have this as the backdrop because, as you can see, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff hanging off the back of it. I never let it run that long because that is water mist, and you know, water mist and electronics don't really mix that well. I thought that this was going to be like a one and done, be done in a day, maybe get it done in a few hours. It took me a couple weeks to figure it all out. But that is part of the learning process. Maybe next year it'll be a lot more cool. I made all these like witch things to try and distract from the fact that there's going to be electronics, but it turns out there's a lot. This isn't all going to cover it up. You got a witch's hat. Pretty proud of that. Witch's hat. Witch's broom, which I kind of artisanally made with a orchid stick, some grass I found outside, and then a piece of natural fiber. Oh yeah, these witch's boots. I made a couple of these. I 3D modeled that. I made that design. So that was pretty cool. But I wanted to make a Halloween decoration that kind of, these days things seem a little bit disposable, and I wanted something to be like, this is kind of a Halloween kitschy toy thing, and it is. So the design is obviously Witch's Cauldron. I 3D printed all these parts. I didn't get these files off the internet. This is a sphere that I lopped the top off, lopped the bottom off. I made these feet. Obviously there's little like bats and eyeballs and a lizard, a newt in there, and these cauldron things. I didn't print it all as one piece. I also had a bunch of different trials. Ta-da, here's some cauldrons. So there's wires on the back of this, obviously. So I took my soldering iron, made some holes for the wires. This one, I think the wires were a little bit too high. I had to do some sort of Goldilocks situation. Oh no, these wires were too high. These wires were too low. This bowl was too big. And this was just perfect. And then inside of that, if you're wondering how I was able to get that disc in there, that is probably the weakest part of my implementation of making this work. Everything's kind of hot glued together. It's not meant to last, it's meant to be cool. All right, I think a lot of people can identify with that. But, so this right here is where the LED goes, and I hot glued all the stuff on top of it. It's a single LED, it lights up, changes colors, it's pretty cool. So I had to go through a couple different iterations on how to get this disc like this, and inside the cauldron, like so, right? Boom. That's what I came up with, kind of have a platform. Plus, I wanted this the vapor not to come out just directly shoot straight up, but kind of mist around the edge of this, if that makes sense. So what I did, well, I had a bunch of different trial prints. Obviously, you got to do a bunch of different trial prints. This one didn't work. It looks like one of those little pizza toppers. This one didn't work. These leg designs didn't work because I made those little poles. But what I accidentally stumbled across was making, it's not a compliant mechanism, but it's a compliant device. Whatever, compliant linkage? I don't know. I'm not I don't know all the jargon and everything, but you see this is closer to the final design. You see those legs that can kind of bend a little bit. This is where the disc would sit. Boom, like so. I glued it in there. So I put this like this, boom. And when you go like that, you're like, whoa, bam, look at that. That kind of sticks together. It doesn't need to do anything other than just kind of hang out in there. I thought that was the coolest idea. And I ran with it. See, and there's a hole there because this is cotton that wicks up the moisture, right? And you can stick that there and it'll soak it up. You can cut it to length and put that right into one of these bad boys like that. Bam. That would be so fun and easy if it was that easy and fun. But it wasn't. It never is. So first of all, you'll notice that this doesn't stay in there. Right? That's right, it just falls right out. So what I had to do was think about this. How am I going to get that to stick in there? I made some little teeth in one of these so that it can grab onto it. Ta-da! I grab onto it. Look, that's not falling out, right? And that's part of what goes into here. But my problem was that as soon as I made that, and I put it all together, I have my LED, I have my wires run out the back of this hole right there. What happens is this disc, as it's hitting, the mist hits up here, and then the water drips right back down onto the disc. And when that happens, the disc stops making the vapor. And I'm like, so all the design that I put into it where I thought it was going to be cool, in the end, didn't actually work out the way I wanted to. So essentially, that in there is, instead of being up and down like that, where it'd be nice and, you know, designed to snap into itself, I actually more or less had to do it like that, where I kind of put it on its side. And it's kind of spitting out on the sideways. But that is a design thing that I will think about in the future. The result is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It hits my expectations and what I wanted it to be. It's cute, it's colorful, it is definitely a conversation piece, but it is not meant to last. Another thing is that this is PLA. There's a lot of different plastics that you can print with that are good at dealing with water. This is PLA. It does not have a good reputation for dealing with water, but all I need is it to work for a little bit for a holiday demonstration, and that's all. So I thought, let's go ahead and go with the PLA. Surely it won't dissolve instantly the second it hits water, and it hasn't, and it might, but it won't just yet. And so another thing that I could improve is the circuitry of the design. I wanted to teach myself a few different concepts of merging together concepts. Obviously, 3D printing. I love 3D printing stuff. You make little designs from the computer and you put it on there. I made a boot. I'm very, you know, I might be more proud of this boot than I am of that. But, maybe not. I mean, this hat, that was really easy. But the 3D design of the circuit is I pilfered a transistor. Now, a transistor is an electrical switch. Instead of flipping a switch on and off, you flip it with electricity. That makes sense. I'm trying not, this is for my friends that don't know electronics too much. But, and then I wanted this to turn on with one button press. So on the board itself, this guy here, there are buttons. Boom, that button, it's its own little device. It can turn on by itself, but I wanted this to turn on and the light to turn on that you see fading in and out. I wanted those to both turn on at the same time, which is, I mean, why would you want to do that? But it's for knowledge, it's for learning. I was able to get that transistor hooked up to this little ESP32, the little brain in the back here, and have it work perfectly with one button press, the thing turns on. That's a feat in and of itself. And another challenge that I came across was human error. So I have really long days. I came home after about 16 hours and I wanted to work on this. But usually when you're super tired, it's not great to do technical things. Everything is kind of spliced together. I'd love to make a little circuit board, design a circuit board for this, but I don't have that knowledge yet, and I don't have the money for it, and this is like a little project that I don't want to spend too much time on, and I need to get this out. I don't have time to wait around. I want to get this out by Halloween at the latest. We'll see if that's what happens. But I designed this, I was making it, I have it all wired up, kind of, sketchy-ish. But everything is wire wrapped and protected so that nothing, like no wires, exposed wires, touch each other. But I learned that the hard way because I fried one of these boards. This guy right here, I had the wires exposed. And then as I was testing him out, of course, it's probably not the best idea to test it out with water, right? Kind of breaking some rules here. But I turned it on, and the lights, I had some lights hooked up to the same circuit, and the lights dimmed, and I was like, that's weird. And then it started smelling funny, and I'm like, that's really bad. So I learned a lesson to not work on electronics late at night after a long, long day. And I fried one of these boards, and it only cost a couple dollars. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. And I also left my hot glue gun on all night. So yeah, that's gonna learn some lessons from that. I'm very lucky. All right, down a couple bucks, and I still have my house, my place I live in. I'll take that over, learning a lesson the hard way. I learned it the easy way, thankfully. What can be changed? What can I change about this? Overall, I would probably give myself more time. I thought that I would be able to get this done within a day. It didn't turn into a day. It's weeks. This is weeks. So then I wanted to, I need to get this out soon. So I'm going to edit this as soon as I can, put it up on my channel. I also would, if I had more time, I'd make this into a PCB board, which is one of those little circuit boards. Be like one of these guys, right? But everything would be on there, and all I'd have to do is plug in just that, and it would be a lot easier to hide with my little trinkets of Halloween joy. And I don't know, next year I would love to do an animatronic. This is a demonstration piece. All right, happy Halloween. I hope you got scared, because I certainly did with this. When this was making smells, I was kind of scared. Anyway,